down 10 men, down 1-0, down 2-1, and we somehow are able to nick a point against Chelsea out there in West London at the Bridge. How's it? I am Tanner, the Bearded Gooner, and I am very happy this evening to be joined by Ray from Arsenal Fan Circle. As always, my man Hope's back on the program for the first time in a little while. It's pretty late over there for him. And Jessica making her debut this evening. And Jessica, we will get into obviously your story a little later on, so everybody knows, kind of what's going on with you and how you become an Arsenal fan and all that good stuff, and your experience over in North London over the new year. So let's get right into it. First of all, I would be remiss if I did not mention Theo. And this is at Theo's CP Journey. And you can find a link in the description to his GoFundMe page. And guys, this is super important. 6-year-old little man over across the pond in England, battling cerebral palsy right now. He's put together a GoFundMe page to raise funds for a surgery that would help him out greatly, would relieve a lot of the pain that he's in, and things of that nature. So please, 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 please click the link in the description below. And I have vowed to give a $5 donation for every new subscriber. I started with 32. I am currently at 37. I've already donated $5, so I currently owe, or £5, excuse me. So I do owe £20 to Theo. But for every new subscriber, I will donate £5 to Theo. And one more thing. If you decide that you are going to donate and you let me know how much you donated, I will match that donation above and beyond the £5 donation for your subscription. So please click the link. It should be in the description below to GoFundMe page, and you can follow the story. It is at Theo's CP Journey. With that in mind, let's get right into it, guys. Not a good first 25 minutes of this match. We were on the back foot. We were on our heels. Mustafi just, okay. I'm not going to call it a mistake, because a mistake means that you didn't mean to do something. A mistake means, man, that's not what I wanted to do.
He didn't mean to do that.
Well, he meant to kick the ball backwards. His problem is he just didn't kick it hard enough. That's it. So, I mean, he didn't mean to kick it left and the ball went right. He meant to kick it backwards to burn Leno, and he just didn't get enough on it. I'm not going to say I blame him. I 100% blame him. I mean, you're a professional. Know how much, know how hard to kick the ball, for crying out loud. David Luiz doesn't help matters. From reading things on Twitter, I think I might be in the minority with this. I actually don't think he should have done what he did, because he took himself off the pitch. Yeah. We played a man down for 65 minutes, and now we're going to lose him for the next 3 matches with a straight red card. So at the end of the day, to a degree, it worked out, because we played better 10 men down, quite frankly, than we did. But obviously, as I said, not a good first 25 minutes. But able to come back, nick a draw, and I got to tell you, this is probably the best performance of the now 7 in all comps that I've seen under Mikel Arteta. Hopes, let's go to you first, bud. Overall reaction to today's action.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, the Bearded.
Of course.
Great to have you back on YouTube again, where you belong, mate. For me, the game was great fight, spirit, composure, and passion. It was for me, it was a point games. Hell of a lot of talking points, but yeah, overall, I thought we I was rooting for us to go and win it. Yeah, it's really, really inspirational stuff. Showed great fight and courage to come back to play that amount of time with 10 men. He's no defeat by any means. I'm happy with that. I saw improvement yet again for Mikel's 7th game.
Yeah, Jessica, you want to piggyback off that?
Yes, it's unusual, but the draw felt like a win. It really did, and you could see it in Arteta's face. You could see it in that smile that picture keeps getting retweeted and it's all over everywhere. Instagram. This is just he's beaming, and I think that's all of us. I think it was incredible the way that we fought, and we can debate the red card. I think obviously losing Luis is not good. Playing 10 men is not good. What he did and how he did it, I think worked out, and unfortunately, it still cost the goal, right? But I really loved that we never slowed down. We never settled for and just crumbled. We never thought, and the bridge can take people. It's similar to Old Trafford in that way that it can really kind of intimidate you, and we don't always have the best history of doing well there, but we didn't let that happen, and it was we rallied nonstop. I mean, look at Bellerin, 90 minutes and a goal after what he's gone through. It was amazing. We had fight the entire time, and anytime we went down in the past, if you just think about we just look at this season, the first half of this season, if we were down, it affected us, and we couldn't pick ourselves up. But the Arteta effect has changed that. They fought harder the more they were down, and I loved it.
Let me ask you, Ray. I'm going to come to you with this. A lot was made of Bukayo Saka, of Gabriel Martinelli, and their age. A couple of 18-year-olds playing out left, coming down the flank, and not too big for them. Is this maybe a matter of sometimes with younger players or younger teams, you hear they don't quite know that they're not supposed to do this yet, or it's not supposed to work that way.
Yeah.
And is it just? I mean, even when Martinelli scored, and I hope they showed this over there, but the feed here with NBCSN, he just stood. It was the Lacazette celebration when he scored against Spurs. Just.
Yeah.
And it's like it's defiance. It's utter defiance. We're not going quietly into that dark night tonight. So Ray, is it almost a bit of what's the word I want to use here? Not inexperience, but just is it just the age and not quite knowing that the moment's not too big for them?
Yeah, I mean it can go both ways, Tanner. Thanks for inviting me on as well.
Of course, pleasure
tonight. Want to go back to, did everyone see that David Luiz there at Mustafi? He's sent off because of what Mustafi did.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, our Hopes and I talked about Martinelli and Saka on my channel a few days ago. That he has no fear, Martinelli. Saka, I think some of the pressure has been taken off him a little bit by not playing left winger. He's had to play a left back now, and he's taken on the instructions from Arteta wonderfully. But yeah, to your point, these players, they have no fear. And Jessica, you're right. The Stamford Bridge is a place that can swallow up a player, even experienced players. But we've seen before with Martinelli, but this is really a coming out moment for him. And it really struck me as well. It was very, very similar to Theo Walcott against Liverpool many, many years ago as well. That breakaway goal all the way.
That's a good shout. I didn't even really think about it.
I think he's got potential to be better than Theo Walcott as well.
I think so too. I think
let's hope so. Let's hope so.
I think we've got a world. I think we've got a gem on our hands here, folks. Absolutely. Ray, just overall feeling after the match.
Yeah, I'm doing this. Like Jessica said, it's like a win. It really is. You're playing 64 minutes with 10 men. We don't expect to come away from there with a draw at that point. We go a goal down as a consequence of the sending off. We're going to be without David Luiz and Oba for the FA Cup game as well. And what kind of team we're going to put out, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But very, very heartened with the fight and comeback. And basically, we had 2 shots in the game and we scored 2 goals. So we've got to be happy. We sort of mugged them off a little bit tonight.
Yeah, for sure. So let's maybe break things down here a little bit, and we'll take a look at the red card. Like I said, I think I might be in the minority here because I've seen a lot of people say, yeah, that's probably the right thing for Luiz to do. And listen, I'm not advocating that David Luiz. I don't even remember who had the ball. Was it Abraham that had the ball for Chelsea?
Yeah, Tammy Abrahams. And you know what, Tanner? This was a lot like the Bournemouth Norwich game. The Bournemouth player turned into goalkeeper. Our players would have seen this, and he took a red.
I am not advocating that David Luiz don't play defense and just let him go in and put the ball in the net. I'm advocating that he play the best defense that he can under the circumstances and within the scope of the rules. He practically tackled him. He grabbed him, he wrapped his arm around him, and then he just fell on him, basically. And it's a penalty. And to me, I'm saying do what you can, but don't take the penalty, because you take the penalty, you're probably going off because it's a clear goal scoring opportunity. And if you're sent off with a straight red, now all of a sudden we lose you for 65 minutes in this game. Now we lose you for the next 3. So my only thing there, like I said, not advocating don't play defense, play the best defense you can under the circumstances and within the scope of the rules.
And look, Tanner, not to hog the conversation here. Sorry, Jessica, but Mustafi hung Bern Leno out to dry as well.
There's no doubt. I'm by no means absolving Mustafi of any play. I mean, I'll tell you this, and I haven't said this on Twitter at all. But another thought that I had, boy, if Leno, I get what he's trying to do, but man, I think he came out just a hair too far, and I think he was a little too aggressive because he was close. And he's close enough to force Abraham to make another move that I think he could have defended a little bit better. So Jessica, go ahead and jump in, because you don't agree necessarily with me. You're all right with David Luiz taking the red.
So what I agree with is that you don't need to do something that's going to harm the team in the future, right? So red card, that's the real bad part about a red card, right? So now we lost him for all that time. And I've never seen us play with 10 men like that. That was amazing. So we really rallied and didn't let that affect us. So that's good, but that's not normal. So when we went down to 10, there was a fear of, oh, here we go, but I feel that he did some great defending and making up for it. He was so determined to make up for Mustafi's mistake or his error. And that is something that we haven't done much in the past. I also find it interesting that he's had 2 red cards, Luis, in his career, and the other one was playing for Chelsea against Arsenal.
Yeah.
So I thought that was that's a little weird. That's a weird
symmetry there.
In his first red when he was with Chelsea against Arsenal, it was an absolutely awful challenge on Kolasinac, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the reason why I think people are having less of a reaction is that it wasn't dirty. Like we've seen some dirty red cards, right? That are intentional. You're trying to, I think of, being from Houston, I went to the same high school as Stuart Holden, and you think about what Johnny Evans did to Stuart Holden when he played for Bolton and they were playing Man U. He just broke his leg in half, I mean, that's the kind of, when you get that feeling and you see that, you outright get angry, that you saw a red like that. Yeah. So when you see a red like David Luiz's today, you have a different reaction. I think I'll notice more. I might be angrier more, maybe not the next match, but after all of a sudden I'm like, okay, now we're on match 2 out of 3 without him. That's a problem. But I was so appreciative that somebody was determined to try to fix that mistake and avoid a goal. Unfortunately, it still cost us a goal and a player. But but his determination there is something that we haven't had in a while. So I think he just needs to take that back next time. Take it back a notch of, you were actually determined to stop a goal and actually defend one. Imagine that, right? He took it a little too far, though.
I like how you. It's kind of something I didn't really think about, Jessica. Is yeah, he's just a little overzealous in trying to make up for his teammates' mistake, and you're absolutely right. It's kind of something that yeah, when you put it that way, that it's a bit of a welcome sight, despite the unintended consequence. And let's face it, Hopes, it's always the unintended consequences that kind of come back to bite you, no matter what the situation might be.
For me, it was pure instinctual, in that he didn't have a choice. I thought he played it really smart, because if he wanted to be reckless, he could have just taken Abraham's legs, but he didn't. If you notice, he tried to body check him off the ball. And in the end, they both tumbled. It didn't work. A couple of weeks ago when Wolves played City, and Wolves got the 90x minute the winner. Adam Traore, he ran down the wing and he body checked Sterling, and that was totally fine. And I think Luiz was trying to do something similar. I mean, let's spare a thought for him. He's playing against his old club and he got sent off. Like, how hard after the career he's had. That's what I was thinking. And ultimately, because he was the last man with Tammy, he had to do something, because if you let that run through, Mustafi, in my opinion, if you let it run through in real time, Mustafi, in my opinion, was back to protect.
So you're saying not a clear goal scoring opportunity. Mustafi may have gotten back to negate that aspect of the red card.
I'm not saying he might have got back. The video shows at the time Luiz body checked Tammy Abrahams. Mustafi was in his blind spot over his left shoulder.
Yeah.
So there's no way he would have seen that. Leno was nowhere in the picture. He'd come out, and did what he had to do. But Luiz didn't know that. And if you look at it, if we run with the instinctual comment that I made, Leno was doing what these guys have been training from a young age, day in, day out. If rather take the red than let them score. We were talking about Arsenal being more ruthless, and I don't really think that comes into it as such. As he just had no choice. He's a defender in a way. He has to put in the challenge, and what's the best way to do that rather than just blatantly tackle? At least give VAR something to think about, and maybe it would go in our favour for once. Unfortunately, it didn't, and we conceded the pen. Now we lose the player. Hey, I'm not worried about the next 3 games, because you know what? Rob Holding's there, just like with Aubameyang. Martinelli's there, and we're not exactly playing top 6 opposition. Okay, our form is a bit up and down. Lots of Ds. However, having said that, it also gives the likes of Holding and Martinelli some playing time as well. So maybe it's a good thing that David Luiz is not around, in the sense that he's been our ball playing centre back, and now Mikel has to go back to the drawing board. And I'm more than confident he will, and he can, and find a different solution.
Well, I mean, let's keep one thing in mind as well. Socrates didn't play today because I think he's sick. I don't think it's an injury. I think he's just sick. That's what I heard. That's what I heard earlier in the week as to why he didn't play at home against Sheffield United. So Socrates could come back in the lineup against Bournemouth. So we've got Bournemouth in the FA Cup on Monday. Then we're away to Burnley, and then we're back home for Newcastle. So those are the 3 games that David Luiz is going to miss. Rob Holding is still in the mix, and I have to think that, let's face it, last year's center back pairing was Rob Holding and Socrates until Holding blew his knee out at Old Trafford. So
and those next 3 games, Tanner, are across a month, pretty much. He's got a lot of time off, David Luiz.
Yeah, we get 2 weeks off between Burnley and Newcastle United, I believe.
Yeah.
So so overall,
sorry, I don't want to do a raid, but I'm just going to anyway. Maybe Socrates is being sold. Don't know.
What, say again?
Maybe Socrates is being sold. That's why it's not being played, and the mystery illness is coming into it.
So am I the conspiracy theorist or the butter-inner?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
The butter-inner.
He's just taking all the titles tonight. Taking all the titles. So obviously, then after we go down 1-0 on 25 minutes, and all of a sudden, here again, you go down 10 men, and at that point, and I'll be honest, I think you see this a lot. I think you see it more often than not, where a team will go down 10 men, and all of a sudden, you just think, the team that's playing, at a man disadvantage, they seem to be the team that's on the front foot. Is it a mentality with the team at the disadvantage that everybody sort of bands together? But guys, and Ray, why don't you jump in on this for me? What's the mindset between the team with all 11 versus the team that goes down a man? Because they just seem to, we were a different team after David Luiz went off. The mindset, the effort, the energy, everything just changed. We all of a sudden, for maybe I'll say 5 to 7 minutes after the red, I thought, this is it, man. They're just going to dominate us in possession. We're not going to touch the ball. In fact, I think I tweeted that out. We're not going to see the ball.
Yeah, I did see that. I did see that.
And then, like I say, and then 5 to 7 minutes after the red card, all of a sudden it's like Chelsea just quit. They just,
Hey, it's a real good gut check for where we are at as a squad, what the coach is doing with the players, that they didn't fold, they didn't give up. And when you have a team that wants to fight for each other, you're going to see that 10 versus 11 every day of the week. So what we saw is a squad that's fighting for each other, players that are fighting for each other, and they're behind the coach, and they want to do what the best things for the coach. And Chelsea had the numerical advantage, but you wouldn't have really noticed that by the end of the game.
No, not at all. A little bit of David versus Goliath, I think, quite frankly. All of a sudden, it just seemed like I said, after that 5 to 7 minutes, it's us against the world. I need to get a T-shirt made up that just says Arsenal versus everybody. As long as we're not to a degree, that's how it's felt this entire season. But I just black T-shirt, white letters, Arsenal versus everybody, and let's go with it. But that seems to, at least to me anyway. Jessica, go ahead if tell me what you think. But just like that mentality of it's us against the world now. We're in hostile territory. We haven't been successful here recently. We're down a man. What more could possibly go wrong? You know what? F it. Let's just go out there and show them all.
And rely on an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Two of them.
Right. And that's what's so amazing. I loved Gabby at the beginning of the season, and I was always, wondering why Emery wouldn't play him more. I thought this guy has something, and he's showing it. He has the opportunity now. He wasn't just waiting until Oba was out either. He already had it, and whenever he played, he scored. And I don't know. I really was impressed by this fight. It was the team had composure. They looked like more of an old Arsenal, and they are. With every match under Arteta, we are looking more like the old Arsenal, and you can see it in Arteta's face that this is the club he fell in love with years ago, as well. That it's getting back to that. And you mentioned it, that they are behind the manager. It is such a difference when you can see a club behind their manager. Everything about it. They trust him. They listen. They support each other better, and you can see it. It looks more like a team than 11 or 10 guys.
Individuals.
Yes, and that's what it was. And I think we had really gotten to that, and there was a fear we couldn't get back to that. But you can see that there was an absolute passion, and that the way that they are training, the way that they're fighting, that today when they went down 10 men, it only pushed them harder. They did not. There was that 5 minutes that what are we going to do? But they said, what are we going to do? We're gonna get this. And that's an incredible fighting spirit. That is an old Arsenal fighting spirit. That's an 89 kind of a spirit, that's an invincible spirit. And it was really fun to see it.
Yeah, Hopes, what do you think?
I thought it was really interesting because just prior to the sending off, We actually had 46% possession of the ball. We had 85 passes to their 98. Fast forward to 33 minutes, suddenly the possession's 50-50. We escalate in our passes to 140 to their 141. But an amazing thing happened around about the 35th to the 40th minute. In those 5 minutes alone, our possession shot up to 74%. So I think, just like what Jess and Ray says, I agree. That red card seems to be a rocket up their backsides, and they thought we need to do something. You asked, like, what is it about the mentality? It's a given in football. It's always harder to play against 10 men. Certain other reasons, such as the other team have to then come out of position, make their extra man count. Some teams can switch that on, some cannot, especially if they're well drilled. And the opposing team, as us, we have to fight harder. I thought Xhaka going into defence, wow, he done an amazing job out there. And again, our 18-year-olds, Saka and Martinelli, who Unai Emery, used to start quite frequently, especially Saka after his goal, and Martinelli, although he used to use him sparingly. They weren't 18-year-olds. I think, irrespective of the age, I think Wayne Rooney broke that. In so much as, forget the age, if you've got the skill, you can go out there and play. And both of that entire left-handed side was under immense scrutiny just before the sending off. I believe it was like 51% possession in terms of Chelsea's attack were guided towards Saka.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's not even a left back, and put some respect on his name. Put some respect on his name.
Absolutely. Now, look, I'll tell you what. Just on that note, look, I hate the team he coaches, but I didn't really like him as a player much either. But there's something about Frank Lampard that I just kind of like. He just seems like seems like a likable guy, and I'm gonna praise him a little bit here because. Look, the mark of a good coach is to find your team's weakness or find your opponent's weakness and exploit it. And he thought at the beginning of the game that Bukayo Saka as a left back was a bit of a weakness. And Ray and Jessica, if you guys heard the broadcast over here in America, Hopes, one of the announcers, I believe it was, I can't even remember who's the lead guy on the NBCSN broadcast. Arlo White.
Arlo White, Grain was stolen.
Arlo White says,
and
Lee Dixon, yeah. Arlo White says, if I'm Frank Lampard, and this was after the red card, if I'm Frank Lampard, I'm telling my guys, if Mustafi has the ball on his foot, go get him, because he just looks nervous, he looks panicky, and you're going to force him into a mistake, and so from that end. Hopes, like you said, they really focused their attention on the left side of our defense and thought that Saka would be the weak link. They went after him and didn't really work out in their favor too well, did it?
No, 2 points on that. Forget this game just momentarily. In our last game against Chelsea, which was Arteta's second game in charge, when we played them at the Emirates, Saka had Willian in his pocket. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed tonight, Lampard put Willian on the left and Hudson-Odoi on the right.
Yep.
Because he thought it'd be a better battle and it would allow Willian to run havoc against Bellerin after he's coming back after his injury. And then going back to our other point about Mustafi, even before he got sent off, Chelsea were happy for him to have the ball. I don't know if any of you noticed that. I think it was around the 8th, 12th and 15th minute when we were playing out the back, they'd press David Luiz, Bellerin and Saka, but they wouldn't press Mustafi. They would wait to press him. It was almost like, yeah, you have the ball, no problem, because we know you're not going to do anything with it.
Well, and when you think about it too, when he had the ball, how many through passes did he try to play up to Lacazette that were picked off 20 yards in front of him? And I get what he's trying to do, But come on, man. He's 50 yards up the field, and here you are hoping that nobody can get to the ball before it gets to him. It hopes, like you said, it's like, hey, you got the ball? Go. What are you going to do? And I hate to say that about the guy, but I think today is, unfortunately, today with Mustafi is just it just shows that he's just not good enough for this level of a football club. Period. And
Well,
go ahead, Jessica.
Well, did y'all see his face when Luis was being sent off? The cameras in the U.S. zeroed in on him. They zoomed in, and there was a still. Somebody on Twitter had been tweeting out they took a screenshot of it.
Yep.
And it is the look of a child who failed an exam and has to go to tell his parents. I mean, it was very sad. It was a heartbreaking face to look at, but also you're like, okay, you shouldn't have to make that face on television. And I know, unfortunately, we know that he is also thinking, what's going to happen when I log on my phone later?
Yeah,
I hate that for him. I hate that for any player.
Yeah, that shouldn't happen as well. That's not right.
It shouldn't. I think that and that's a whole different discussion. How we treat our own, right? And that was a little bit of one I had the other day. On Thursday, I got into a little one about that. But you could see that it was just utter devastation on his face.
To quote JR, Jim Ross, for those of you who are wrestling fans, he looked like a scalded dog.
There you go. He did. I mean, it really. I don't think I've ever seen a player look like that.
Yeah. Gail has a great comment there.
Here we go. Gail, I think you just won the Gail comment-wise.
Here we go. Yeah.
It was oh shit, and Jess, yeah, you're right, Jessica. I saw that picture. It was devastation.
But what's the oh shit about? Sorry to butt in. Was it like, oh shit, what have I just done?
Yeah.
Or, oh shit. Or oh shit, I've got to play for 65 minutes now witithout him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the problem.
But credit to him. He kept it together, man. He did not break. Can you imagine? We finished against Chelsea at the Bridge 2-2 with Mustafi and Xhaka as centre backs. Ha.
Yeah.
And
but look at what happened to Xhaka.
I wasn't there.
Oh my goodness. He turned the corner. If you think about if we can talk about we kind of touched on Mustafi and him being afraid of what people are going to say about him. You could just see it, what's going to happen now. And the way that Xhaka has turned things around, which is 100% credit to Arteta, right? Because he wanted to leave. He was miserable. Yeah. Some awful things have been said. He did some awful things. And the way that he has turned it around, the way that he played today was not of a man whose soul was broken, but one who, so no matter what your profession is, everyone has had a boss that believed in them and encouraged them to lift them up, and everyone's had one that shot them down. He finally got the boss who says, I believe in you, and you can see it.
You're a big part of this club, is what Arteta is saying to him. Yeah, go ahead, Ray.
Let's remember, he did finish the game with an assist as well.
Oh, Mustafi, yeah.
So we call him Colonel Mustard over on the fan circles. So be nice to Colonel Mustard, as Tony Turner said.
Yeah, that's great.
I think a big part of Xhaka now playing the way he does is primarily because he's playing in his correct position, as is Torreira, and that makes a massive difference because he plays, I believe, a similar role for Switzerland, and he was just being asked to do all sorts of madness. But credit to Xhaka for stepping in, not having a tantrum and just being centre back. And I just thought, bloody hell, this guy can't tackle on a good day. We're just going to give penalties away left, right, or centre, or they're going to go around him. But he was solid. In fact, I would go as far as saying I was thinking he was man of the match, not Bellerin. Because of what he did.
Real quick, does anybody else hear what sounds like the Predator in there?
Yep.
Okay. Does anybody know what that is?
Well, probably the Predator, but you know.
Good God, I hope. Well, that's why I looked out my window earlier. I'm like, I hear this noise in my headphones, and it sounds like the Predator is.
He's right behind Hopes on the couch.
He's blending in. He's blending in with my Arsenal
That
America
shadowy
flag.
figure, shadowy. I can see the shadow behind you, Hopes.
It's Mustafi. It's Mustafi the bearded. He wants you to have that shit look on your face.
I keep hearing this in my headphones. I'm gonna have an oh shit look on my face here in a few minutes. I need Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jesse the Body Ventura, and Carl Weathers to come protect me. For the younger viewers, you guys aren't going to get that at all. Yeah, at one point, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the former governor of California, he was a halfway decent actor in action movies. Believe it or not.
You should pick up his mantra and say, "I'll be back."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
At the end of every episode.
I'm not gonna cash in on that one. But that's what we do here on the Bearded Gooner Show. We give you mostly Arsenal talk, but give you a little pop culture as well. I'm all about the pop culture. So, Hopes, we're gonna jump in here on the man of the match thing. Let's go around the horn. You're giving your man of the match to Granit Xhaka, and that's a hell of a shout, man. I'm going to give it to Martinelli. I mean, again, 18 years old, man. He just lost it the entire game. He got the goal. He didn't panic. How often do you see a guy on a clear-cut break and all of a sudden just Pepe has had this has happened to Pepe twice where his feet get moving faster than the ball, and it just all of a sudden it's a heavy touch. It's not a heavy enough touch. It's a touch in the wrong direction, and guys panic. Gabriel Martinelli didn't panic at all. Comes screaming down the middle, slots it perfectly. Didn't overthink it, nothing. So like I said, for me, my man of the match, because of the goal, because of the composure on the goal,
second that
is Gabriel Martinelli. But Granit Xhaka is not a bad shout at all. I mean, here's a dude who, he starts playing, in the midfield, and because of a red card, all of a sudden he's got to drop back, play center back. Not only play center back with, and make it. I don't want to say he didn't make it look easy, but he didn't look out of place, and he didn't gripe about it. He in the post match interview, he said to it was BT that was interviewing him, but he said in the post match interview with BT, "Hey man, this is basically just you do what you have to do. I got to play center back. Okay, that's where it's not where I want to play, but I'm not going to complain about it. It's what I have to do to help the team." So Granit Xhaka, absolutely, it's almost a 1A and a 1B for me. So Ray, who you have as your man of the match?
I got to second what you're saying with Martinelli. This kid just keeps stepping up to different levels. I said on the channel a few days ago, he'd been scoring in the League Cup, in the Europa League, and now you have to step it up to the Premier League. He scored at West Ham, a game which you were at, Tanner.
Yep.
And he scored on Sunday when we need him, when our main goal scorer is not available to us, Aubameyang. And he's really making a case for himself to be included in the first team on a regular basis. And I just love it. He got a heavy touch. We had a little bit of luck. We've not had a lot of luck in the last few weeks, but we got a slice of luck there. Kante slipped. It was epic. Martinelli, he turned on the burners, got himself to the edge of the box and sized up the goalkeeper. And what the strikers do is they tend to aim close to the feet where the keepers can't get at it. And he slid that ball in perfectly. And yes, he can do the Lacazette's celebration then. So
yeah.
Top shelf for me, Martinelli.
Jessica, what do you got?
I'm Martinelli too. I mean, you talk about earlier. We mentioned Walcott, and then we talked about Pepe and his runs too. Martinelli had such composure today. I remember that Walcott used to get in. He would run down the pitch in a full sprint, and you could see him change gears. You could literally just see his legs just like they switched into another gear. But then, how many times did he get up within sight of goal, and then he would miss? And absolute, like, just a sitter after that we're all on just the edge of our seats, screaming, just can't believe that we're watching somebody run at this speed, and then it was just disappointment. And Martinelli didn't do that. he ran that 65 yards, and it was an absolute sprint, and he stayed composed the entire time, and it was and really brilliant. And I feel like, after those 5 minutes after the red card, we rallied, but I think that was the second wind that we got after that we thought, yeah, we're not going down. We're not going down at the bridge. And he really lifted up that spirit again. And so I have to go with Martinelli.
Yeah, I want to bring Hector Bellerin into the conversation here.
Just before you do, sorry, just
Yeah,
before
go ahead,
you do, a quick question for all three of you. If that was Aubameyang, because Lacazette was running side by side, would Aubameyang have gone for it or given it to Laka?
Oh.
Because they were right. He was in his eye line. He was definitely in his eye line.
I was actually expecting him to go to Laka too. I thought it was Pepe. It was I was looking at it. I'm like, dish it off, because he's got it. He's right on it.
This is why you want to pick up the Predator team. You want a Predator in your team. It's going to be a stone cold killer.
Well done, Ray.
He's the whites of those eyes of the goalkeeper.
No, but the question was, if that was Aubameyang instead of Martinelli, would he have passed it to Laka, knowing that Laka?
No, Aubameyang would have taken the shot as well.
Go ahead,
So
Jessica.
I disagree. I think he would have passed it to Laka. And so the first time I watched Martinelli's goal today, I was amazed. And then the second time I thought, I wonder if anyone's going to say, why didn't you pass it to somebody? If he had missed it, everyone would have yelled that you should have passed it to Laka, right? Or to someone else. And but again, I watched it again, and it was all him, and I'm proud of him. But I think that Oba would have passed it with the knowledge that if Laka didn't have the shot, he would have passed it back in a 1-2 at the top.
I think, man, that's tough because I feel like Aubameyang is that. I feel like he does have that killer instinct about him, and I feel like he would have wanted to take it. But at the same time, I think back to when he gave Lacazette the penalty and said, excuse me, when
he might have tried to kickstart Lacazette again. He hasn't scored in
Pepe
penalty, and he did it for Pepe. He did it for Laka.
Yeah, and he slide that ball over to Lacazette and let him, I mean, let's face it, even from that distance, it's still pretty much a sitter because you got a yawning cage. He's staring into the wide abyss at that point. You say, boy, if he misses that, man, oh man, there might not be any coming back from it. But that's a tough one, man. That's a good question, Hopes. That's a damn. What do you think?
I think Aubameyang would have passed it to Laka to get his confidence up because, as the panel has said, Ray just, Lacazette just said, Aubameyang, has just said he's got previous to doing it. And he was clear, and I'm so glad in one sense that Martinelli did what he did, just for so many other reasons. But stick to that point, definitely, I think Aubameyang would have passed it.
So Tanner,
because we've seen in previous games, where Aubameyang's had a shot, he passed it back to Laka, and you've just thought, why didn't you just take the bloody shot? Sorry, Ray.
Gail is wanting us to give a shout out to Leno in the comments as well.
Yeah, 100%. I saw that. Definitely. He's my second man of the match, by the way.
Man, oh man, I kind of already went through 2 men of the match. We sit here and go through the entire team. Gail, it's an absolute great shout for Bernd Leno. I will say the only thing I'll say is, as I mentioned before, I thought on the Mustafi blunder, and I'm not necessarily saying this is why he's not man of the match for me, but I do think he kind of overplayed that ball. I think as he's coming forward, he's got to realize that if he keeps coming, he's just how do I explain this? The way that he's coming, the way Abraham was coming, Abraham's going to get around him. So slow down and create an angle and force Abraham maybe out a little wider rather than just running up to him and letting Abraham basically just get around him. So it's a great shot. I mean, he had a lot of great saves. I mean, How many
always
did they
does.
have, for crying out loud? I mean, I know
That
they
was
had
in the game.
they had 19 shots. So I don't, how many of those were saved? Was it Ross Barkley? I think had a chance right on the to Leno's right hand
Our
side.
header. Yeah.
No, it wasn't a header. It was maybe it wasn't Ross Barkley because Barkley had the back header.
Willian had a great shot, and
maybe it was Willie and that Leno had to get low for right at the post and
Willian.
Willian. Okay,
Yeah.
he had great saves. So Gail, that's an absolutely great shout. And oh, by the way, any chance we get to make fun of Harry Kane on the show, we're going to take it.
Let's do it.
19 shots, 8 on target. So
yeah, if Laka would have missed, if Aubameyang were to pass in hopes is hypothetical, if he passes it over to Lacazette and Laka misses it, he would have been Harry Kane. You're absolutely right. But then he probably would have fallen over, tried to draw a penalty, and I don't know, and claimed he shot JFK. I don't know. Harry Kane just seems to take credit for the most random things that he had nothing to do with. But I digress. Any chance we get to make fun of the scum, we're going to take it on this show. That's what we do. So where are we at here? We're on about 45 minutes. We've pretty much, I think we've pretty much covered the game. Hector Bellerin, that's where I was. Given the captain's armband, first match back, and I got to tell you, and Ray, you can attest to this because I have been on your show and I have talked about this injury, the ACL tear.
Yeah.
And, as I've said before, I've done it twice. I know what it's like to try to come back from that injury, and it's more confidence. Honest to God, it is more confidence than anything else. Tony says 6 saves for Bernd Leno, by the way. I just want to jump back in there because I said wasn't quite sure how many saves he had, but Tony, thanks for that. 6 saves by Bernd Leno. So absolute shout out to him as well. But it's a confidence thing to come back from that injury. And today, boy, Hector showed me something today. Again, he gets the armband from Arteta. I thought he had a great game, and then the goal is just icing on the cake. I mean, he got turned around once or twice, but I don't think he was ever really out of position during the game to creating a clear-cut opportunity. But why don't you Ray, just go ahead and say it.
Yeah, wonderful. We talked about David Luiz being sent off in a return fixture. Football throws up wonderful stories inside of the game. And Hector Bellerin, I've got shivers now coming down the back of my neck here. Hector Bellerin getting injured a year ago versus Chelsea in that mammoth game where we beat them 2-0. And he comes back from injury and scores the equalizing goal at Stamford Bridge. And let's not forget, he'd been beaten up a little bit at the bridge. He had that horrible concussion that people like Alan Shearer were trying to justify all day long on Match of the Day. And I just think props to Hector Bellerin. He's a player who knows the fabric of the club. He's been there forever. He's almost like a local lad. he speaks Cockney almost.
It sounds like it. Yeah.
So weird.
Right?
So it's amazing.
So strange.
And I thought at first sight that it was a deflected goal, and I was like, good, we're getting some of that look back. But I think that was a clean hit.
It was an absolutely clean hit.
Clean.
He hit that way outside the post, and it curled beautifully inside. And the Chelsea goalkeeper had no chance with that. So lovely to see that for the lad. Great for the team. Great for Arteta, he celebrated both of those goals on the sideline. It was lovely to see. And now I'm going to let someone else speak about it.
No, that's all right. Hopes, what do you think about Hector today?
He surprised me, nearly killed me because I was in my local watching it with some lads, and I nearly choked. I literally, I had something in my mouth, and I literally nearly choked. And then I was even more astonished to note that it came off. He shot with his left foot, and it was like a right back on his left foot. It was just, it was, just to have the courage. It was kind of like Kyle Walker sort of Trent Alex-esque, you know, for me. And it's great because after, you know, as you and Rev alluded to, the fact that coming back from that injury is one thing within itself. To then come back in such a match of that caliber is like number two, and then to get a goal. The only thing that I'm worried about now is, like, you know, some Arsenal fans are going to have a massive high expectation of him, and just to be grounded. I was disappointed with his defensive performance, in that, you know, the Arsenal defence have got this disease in so much as they never tackle. They will see players to the corner line. They will stand in front of the attacking players, but they never just go in and tackle. Xhaka did it today when he saw, I think it was Tammy. You know, he jockeyed and then he put the tackle in. It was literally like 1-on-1 when Mustafi couldn't get back, and he did well. But yeah, I'd like to see more of that from Bellerin. You know, that more. You know, first and foremost, you're a defender. So at least, you know, don't invite them into the 18-yard box. Make a tackle outside, because I'd rather give away a free kick rather than a penalty. But yeah, no, welcome back, Hector. You know, he's back on the scene. You know, with his new haircut as well. You know.
Jessica, what do you think?
Oh, it was great to see him back. You know, I was really surprised. All of you are right. ACL, a lot of this is a confidence issue. We've seen it with a lot of our players come back with an injury like that, and then they end up injured again. And I think that's the biggest fear, is being touched. You know, you see them being a lot more cautious, and he did not behave that way. I think he was so determined to be a part. He's always been one to play for the shirt. And I think he really showed that today, that he played a full 90. Who expected that? I thought maybe he'd come on. You know, when I found out he was starting, I thought, okay, maybe he'll play for 20 minutes or something. I mean, you know, just give him a little time. Normally he's somebody coming back like that to sub him on in the 80th minute or something like that, you know, 75th. But he started and he played the whole time, and that was incredible. I liked his drive. He really he didn't let it down. Yeah, he made some mistakes, but how could he not? After being off a year and then he's playing away from home. But one of the things about Hector that works for the whole team, the whole side today, is that we are proving that we are not reliant on one person. We're not reliant on Oba. And I think he's fantastic, and we love him and we need him. But the way that we have played these two matches so far without him show that we're much more of a club than we have been in a while. And the fact that you could support somebody like Hector and him do as well as he did after not playing for a year, not playing on his home turf, and then when he scores, he kisses the pitch. I mean, you know, he's just he was so grateful, you know, to be a part of it. And then he had a snarky tweet that was awesome too. But I really appreciate that. I appreciate that Martinelli's comment on social media was great teamwork. That's all he said. They all are thinking of it in that mentality, and Hector showed it too. So they are thinking like a unit, and that's amazing.
Yeah, and that goes back to a point that I've been making for a little while now. Is it's, you know, for a long time I felt, yeah. Hopes, you're being haunted by a predator, man.
It's getting louder, whatever it is.
What I've been saying for a while now. It's the door. It's in the wherever that door goes to, man.
Ray, it's Ray.
Oh, it's Ray. I ain't got time to bleed. Well done, Danny. Well done. I don't know, Hopes. I don't know what you just did. Stop.
So we're gonna have Predator quotes now, huh?
I guess. Well done, Danny. That was tremendous. I'm sorry. As I've said before, for the longest time, this felt like a group of individuals. It didn't feel like a team. You know, it felt like just 11 guys out there kind of running amok and hoping for the best. And now, and this is maybe a bit of a good segue into the Arteta effect, they're playing as a unit now, or at least that's my take on it anyway. I think you guys would agree with that. Hope, so I'll come to you on that. I like I said, I think under Arteta and the effect he's having is, look, play as a unit and play maybe as within one big unit, play as three subunits. You have your attackers, your midfield, and your defense. And, I really see a cohesion developing now under Mikel Arteta. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think first and foremost, as Jess spoke about, they believe in Mikel Arteta, and that's the first and foremost essential ingredient, that the players need. Are we playing for this guy or not? Do we believe in his vision? Let's not forget, Mikel Arteta's never been a manager. He's been a number two. There's a lot of talk. A lot of Arsenal fans did not want him. They didn't want a cone carrying coach. As has been said. And he's learned well. He's under Pep's supervision and guidance, and he's brought that to the Arsenal, playing as a team, but more so playing, getting the players to play in their correct position and man management. I mean, what he's done with Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Torreira, David Luiz, Saka, Martinelli, is phenomenal. Even the likes of Reece Nelson, when he's played, and I've been at the Emirates, being a lucky season ticket holder, that I've seen, they really take to him. And then if you just take our last game, against Sheffield United, where I saw he was playing 3 different formations in that game, and he's been honest. He not only has Mikel had to come back to a club that he loves, but we're in dire straits. Fans arguing and toxic fan base and all of that, and then so much hate towards certain players. Just the Xhaka effect and the Ozil effect, and now suddenly these players look changed, and that's come from one man. I remember when Mikel Arteta went into London Colney, and all he kept saying on his first day, as Arsenal recorded, it was to all this backroom staff, we got work to do. Are you ready to work? We've got work to do. He's come and he's brought that enthusiasm, that passion, that determination, and may long it continue, because we've got 9 days left until the end of the transfer window. He seems to have got this stock response that a lot of managers have, Arsenal managers, in terms of, are any players coming in? Well, we want to bring the right player in. I just hope the board back him. And after our last game, because we drew, I heard a lot of old school gooners, from the 70s, say, "Oh, it's time for him to go after the end of the season if he doesn't do anything, if he doesn't get to Champions League place." And I'm thinking, what are you watching? A lot of Arsenal fans question me and said, "Has he actually improved anything?" And I'm like, what games are you guys watching? I see that cohesion that you're speaking about, David, and I see the players really putting in a shift, and it couldn't be more evident than against a strong Chelsea team tonight, who are 10 points ahead of us, going away from home and playing as a team with 10 men on the pitch. So yeah, I think there's only more to come. If you imagine there's levels to this. This is the team Mikel Arteta's inherited. He hasn't chosen any of the players, and so he's first trying to get them to play according to his philosophy. Every game, what I love from Mikel Arteta is that you can now pick a team. He's consistent in picking the team, minus just 1 or 2 changes, which like Bellerin tonight. But otherwise, it is he believes in that stability and that consistency. And in addition to that, he's had to come into this. He's had to therefore work with what he's got, and he's come from a club like City, where he's seen what it means to taste success, to go into the latter stages of the Champions League semi-final and final. And then he's come to a club that he loves, and he's thinking, okay, this is what I've got to work with. Now I need the backing. So when he gets the backing, then we got another level. When we go up to the other level, and he can actually get more stronger players in that we need, Yeah, man, I'm all behind him. I think he's brought a level of enthusiasm to the club, which, which we've lacked since probably about 2008, which we got back under Unai Emery during that 22 unbeaten run. However, it very quickly dwindled, and I'm willing to put these draws aside. Hey, we haven't lost yet, as Ray said, in 2020, unbeaten in 2020. And it's just a rebuilding process. The question actually comes onto us fans. Are we willing to back him? When the shit hits the fan, forgive my French, are we going to suddenly turn around and call out the board, KSC, the Cronkies, rather than just choosing, the most tangible people in front of us, the players and the manager? Mikel Arteta, with his substitution tonight, changed that game. For one, I was screaming when Louise went off. I was like, Holding's got to come on. Holding's got to come on. I was in panic mode, but he didn't. He rode it out. Yet again, he's showing us time and time again. He was more than a number two at Man City, and you see that Man City now without Mikel Arteta. Their win-loss draws ratio is a bit all over the place. So that's my opinion. Monologue over.
I want to jump in here real quick, guys. I'm sorry, but I kind of want to just had a thought here, and tell me if I'm crazy. But I mentioned earlier about Martinelli's composure during his goal, and 67 yards, and boy, there's got to be a lot going through an 18-year-old's head. Running 67 yards, like when I get back to my flat, what am I going to have to eat tonight? Am I going to go out and drink? I've got a couple of days off here or something. The things that are running through it, come on, that wasn't funny? Nothing? No, not a chuckle at all? Man, oh man, tough crowd tonight, guys, tough crowd. My point is, if you'll allow me, the composure being shown by Mikel Arteta in not panicking and making a rash decision, because Jessica and Ray, if you guys were listening to the American broadcast, they were talking about Rob Holding coming on towards the end of the first half. And then all of a sudden you think, okay, well, he's going to come on and start the second half. Nope. He stuck with what he had. And they made a comment. You don't want to, when you're down 10 men, you don't want to take off your pace. And so to me, that's composure on the part of the manager. And is that rubbing off on the younger players? Hey, I don't know that I'm not supposed to be here yet. So I'm just going to do my thing, and it's working out, and it's rubbing off, I think, on the players. Hopes, that's an absolutely great way to put it. The composure by the manager. And it's just now, and I think you see it trickling down, especially with the younger players and even some of the I don't want to call Ainsley Maitland-Niles a younger player. He's, 24, 25, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Essentially, he hasn't had many years in the team.
No, and the younger guys, this is it's a composure. It's a confidence. It's a quiet confidence in Mikel Arteta, and I think it really is trickling down to the younger players who, Jessica, Ray, I'm sorry, go ahead and jump in, both of you.
No, I mean, sorry, go ahead, Ray.
Tanner, Hopes and I have talked about this a lot. We call it PTSD. So this team has been through a lot of trauma over the last few years, and it's a symbiotic thing with Arteta, the fans, and the players. Once the team starts attaining some decent results, they'll get a chunk of the fans on board. Not everybody's going to be on board. You still see some crazy tweets out there. But as the results come and we're unbeaten, yes, I'm going to shout it from the rooftops. We're unbeaten in 2020. We could be losing games. We're not losing games. And Hopes has put it very, very clearly. And in some ways, Arteta is doing for us as a coach what he did for us as a player. We were in desperate need of a player who could come in, and he and Mertesacker came in and steadied the ship, and we went on to win 3 FA Cups, and that's not to be sneezed at last decade. And he's doing the same thing for us as a coach, coming in, settling the ship, steadying the ship, and maintaining results, and the players are going to start believing in him week in, week out. and gradually that PTSD that I call it will fade away from memory, and that's it. Jessica.
No, I mean, I am really impressed with him, with Arteta, and I think that it had to be him. I think that I know there are a lot of fans that were hesitant because he had only been a number two, but I think we needed somebody who loved the club because he's going to understand it in a different way. And he has been coming in at the beginning. You know, we all saw those clips. So we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. And I read last week he went to Highbury House and he went to where all the offices are and he met all the staff that he wouldn't normally need to meet and to just get to know them. And that not every manager does that. He's meeting everybody who works for the club because they all matter. Um, I'm really impressed. You think we did have those commentators? They were told that today that Holding was coming on, and that he didn't. And Arteta said he looked out there and he thought that Martinelli was getting tired, and then all of a sudden he was sprinting 60-something yards. You know, he said like he has this other gear, but he listened to that. You know, so they communicated to everybody. All the commentators thought that the switch was happening. All the media, and then he didn't do it, and that's because he's paying attention to everything. He's not just following. You know, we have a defender out. Let's put somebody in. You know, put somebody back in the back. He took a moment. He took a breath, and he looked at what he has, and he does that all the time. And you can see his joy and you can see his pain, and the way that he talks to the fans too, I think is really huge. That he knows that we need to be as united as his players. You know, that's one thing that I finally noticed that I was able to experience. And when I was at the Emirates, the people were asking me some of my love for the club. One of the things that I kept saying over and over again is it doesn't matter if you watch from your couch, from the same seat in the Emirates or Highbury year by year, year after year, or you are a janitor in the stadium, or you're a player, you're a photographer, you're a manager, however you are involved with the Arsenal, it becomes a part of you. And Arteta shows that. It's a part of who he, you know, as a player, and he said when he left as a player that he was going to come back someday and manage it.
Yeah.
He said the other day he's not going to take this for granted. This position never will, and you can tell that he doesn't.
Yeah.
And you can see the way that he manages. That he has. You know, everyone's like, is he going to be Pep? Is he going to be Wenger? Or he's mostly going to be Pep? Well, I see.
Or Penger.
Yeah, but I see both of them in him. But I also see Arteta. You know, I see some Pep influence. I see Wenger influence. But I also see his own spin on it. He's not just mirroring the two greatest managers, right?
I want him to be his own man. That's a great point.
He is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's what's amazing. He's letting them influence him, but he's taking the good from both of them and creating his own self. And that is awesome.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ray.
I've got one question for the panel then, and the viewers and everyone in the comments section.
I'm busy on Saturday.
I think personally it's very, very important we go get. What did you say, Hobbs?
I said I'm busy on Saturday.
I'm gonna ask my question. I think it's very, very important that the club supports the manager, coach in the next 10 days. Do you folks think it's also very, very important to keep the good feel factor going, irrespective of the player? I mean, there's a lot of players out there that can improve us.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's imperative that they back him, that they support him. I assume you're talking financially within the transfer window.
Bring a player in, not a cheap Dennis Suarez type of deal.
Well, and see, to that point, I will say this, and to me, there is a point with you don't bring in a player just for the sake of bringing in a player. I mean, if they're going to do that, I'll volunteer. I'll come in.
I understand. I understand what you're saying, Tanner, but we got to keep the goodwill going between fans.
We do, but see, to that end, if the fans are just screaming, "Bring somebody in! Bring somebody in!" Well, like I said, bring me in. I'm not going to do any good. You have to bring in the right player. You can't just, I mean, let's face it. If we bring in, Joe Schmo, are we going to be happy with that? Like, hey, look who we signed this guy. Yeah, what's he going to do? He's going to fetch balls for us during practice. We brought him in. He's a transfer. If the right player, and Arteta will tell them if this is the right player. And Pablo is mentioning here, I'm going to post his comment up here. Beggars can't be choosers. I don't know that we're beggars right now. I just don't see that.
We're a mid-table team right now, Tanner.
Yeah, but I'm not going to bring in a Dennis Suarez for the sake, because look, Dennis Suarez is that example. He's hey, look, we brought this guy in, and what did he do? Nothing. Were we any better with him? No. So why bring him in? And then what did we do? Then we bitched about bringing in a guy that didn't do anything. So I'd rather bring in no one, and that be the right decision. There are players out there that'll improve us 100%. Are we going to get them right now? Probably not. So rather than go and get the wrong player for the sake of getting a player, I say no. I would rather stick with what we have. I want the right player. I don't want a player, if that makes sense. That's just my mentality on it. Jess, go ahead.
It makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, it does make sense, because regardless, Arsenal fans are going to complain. So they're going to, if we get the wrong guy, we're going to complain about it. And if we don't get anybody, we're going to complain about it. So I am very impressed that, as it's been mentioned, none of these players have been chosen by Arteta. He came in with them. This is who he has. I think we'd be a little better if we could, maybe remove some. But I think he's doing a phenomenal job creating a side with who he has. The January transfer window is a recipe for panic buys. It's a recipe for loans that don't pan out. We think about Kim. What was his name? Kim
Karlstrom.
Oh,
there we go. I mean, come on, so we don't want anything like that. The Dennis Suarez, the Kims, that we don't.
I take an Arshavin though.
Oh, absolutely.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I mean, every once in a while it works out, right? But I don't want Arteta to make a panic buy just to please fans. But I do want the board to back him. So if he has found somebody that is right to improve what we already have, then we need them to. The fans are backing him, not, for the most part, an amazing amount, considering how much our fans have been, how toxic they've been lately. The majority are supporting him, and that's wonderful. So we need the board to do the same. So if he has found somebody, we don't know about it yet, but if he has, then we do need the board to support that. If he hasn't, then I think that's okay, because I think that he's going to do fine. Yeah,
Hopes, what do you got on that? Bringing a player for bringing in for.
Be right back in 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead, Ray. Bringing a player in just for the sake of bringing one in, or bring in the right player.
What did I say? What did I say? I didn't even speak, and he's gone.
What did that say? I thought he held up a sign or something.
No, he said I'll be right back, and he just got up and left.
Yeah. After you said my name.
Hey, duty calls.
Yeah. What do I think? Okay, which football club brings in a player just for the sake of it? Can you both think of a club who brought in a player just for the sake of it?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to go back to my Dennis Suarez example. I honest to God, think he was brought in. He was out there. He was available. And I think, to a degree, he was brought into this club simply to appease the fans and say, hey, look, here's a guy. He's from Barcelona. We brought him in. Forget that he can't play right now because he's injured. Whatever. I'm not saying that's 100%. I will say this, and then I'm going to come right back to you, Hopes. I think the one thing that we can all agree on in this particular instance is transparency and communication from the club. What are your transfer plans? What are you doing? Now, obviously, because I'm sure that there within UEFA there are tampering rules, laws, whatever. So you can't mention players by name, but the club could say, yes, we have some irons in some different fires. We're looking at options to improve the team, and hopefully one or two or three of those options work out. We're looking at a center back. We're looking at a central midfielder. We're looking at this. We're looking at that. That, I think, is what's up there, Jessica.
It sounds like my dogs are lifting weights. Right above my head is where I have my little gym, and it sounds like all the weights are moving and the dogs are up there. So
sorry, I just saw her like this.
The Predator jumped. The Predator jumped off of Hope's couch.
Wait,
and up into there.
That way.
I think it's arm day for the Boston Terriers, I guess.
Nice. I digress.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. Hopes go back. You were saying. I'm sorry. I wanted to jump in there. Will any team in any league at any level ever admit that they did something essentially to appease the fans? No, I don't think they would. But I won't sit here and say that it's never happened either.
But even to appease, I mean, I don't think, Suarez was brought in like not to play, like to please the fans. I mean, you could argue Ceballos is the next Suarez then. I just don't buy it. I just think it's a stock response in terms of should they, the right player coming in. Hey, I can see right players all around me. I see Decore, I see Koulibaly, I see Upamecano, I see Dunk, I see Fleck from Sheffield United. There are so many players we can bring in, but the point is, are they going to be available to come? And for the price, and how are we going to pay them $5 a week? There's a lot more behind the scenes that needs to happen with the board, and that's why I said for my previous point that at which point do the fans turn on the board and stop trying to blame the players and the manager that's before them? I would definitely love to see some reinforcements. Why? Because if we are hoping to win the Europa League, let's say if top four is not possible towards the latter stages of the season, if these players are not fit, and I believe, don't tell me they're not fit, I know they're bloody well fit. What they're not fit enough to do, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here, is that they're not fit enough to play his style of game. Yeah. That's a different kind of fitness, right?
Let me jump in here real quick. Hold that thought, because I want to piggyback off of what you just said. Did any of you hear Arteta's interview with BT post game? Because he made a comment to the BT interviewer that they have to be ready to play every third day. That is the expectation of Arsenal Football Club, is to be able to play every third day. And when you think about how schedules break down, be it Europa League, be it Champions League, with the Premier League schedule, you play just about every third day. That is his expectation. So their hopes are they're not fit to play his game, but they're also not fit to play as often as he expects them to play, if that makes sense.
But Fleck, Upamecano, Koulibaly, that's what they're doing anyway.
Right. Well, and like you said, behind the scenes, and here's one thing, and I'm gonna give a little credit here. I brought up this radio host out here in Pittsburgh, and one thing he says on the air is he talks, Pittsburgh sports teams, blah blah blah. And all fans of every team, let's trade all of our bad players for all of their good players. Well, it doesn't work that way. And we're not going to go and, Upamecano, why on earth would Leipzig sell Upamecano right now? They're leading the Bundesliga. They're in the final stage. They're in the knockout stages of the Champions League. That's a good team. Why would they break up that team right now? Sell them in the summertime. You've got a good thing going right now. So that, to me, the Upamecano thing, right, and I'm using him as an example, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. If I'm Leipzig, that makes no sense from my standpoint.
What you have to think about is that a lot of these clubs, they're punching above their weight. I hear a lot of fans saying, "Oh, we need to get into Champions League. We need to get into Europe." you know, for these big stars to come to us. I don't want a big star if they're just coming for the, you know, for the desserts. You know, get in, roll up your sleeves, and do what you need. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of our players can't play every third bloody day. You know, but no, I mean, just to wrap up my point before you ask the other panel, no, I definitely feel that it's now time the board bring someone in January. You know what? Who cares? Just to stick him on the bench, right? Whatever, because it will show the fans the board's intentions. We've seen the players' intentions. We've seen Mikel Arteta's intentions. But since Mikel Arteta's come on board, we haven't seen the board's intentions. They've gone incognito again. And I've always said this whole rebuilding process, 40% Mikel Arteta, 30% players, and 30% the board. Yeah. So where are the board now? Even if it is to bring him on, you know, buy the cheapest player then and just bring him in just for the sake of it. Let's play that game.
Let me ask you this. So along those lines, would you all take Jerome Boateng on loan till the end of the year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put it this way. When you consider that, especially right now, David Luiz will now miss games into the middle of February. Callum Chambers is done for at least probably until this time next year, if not a couple of weeks sooner. And that's simply evidenced by, look at Rob Holding's comeback time. Look at Hector Bellerin's comeback time. It's a year.
Yeah.
It's a year. So we can expect Callum Chambers to be out until at least Christmas of next year. The Boateng thing doesn't solve that problem, but we need coverage at center back because we need two of them on the pitch, at least two of them on the pitch for 90 minutes. And we've got three healthy ones. Maybe a fourth if you decide you want to throw Granit Xhaka into that mix, but I don't really want to play him at center back consistently. So I would take Jerome Boateng. On loan if for no other reason, and I'm not appeasing the fans. I'm taking him on loan because he's a warm body that can play center back, and we need center backs because because we're hurt at that position right now. You know,
and Mustafi can get on the bench.
Go ahead, Jessica. What was that?
Well, no, he's a good one to have on loan. You know, he's proven, and I think that's one of the benefits of January. January has its pros and cons. Mentioned a couple already, and the other one you mentioned was that not a lot of people want to sell their best players mid-season. You look about why would they let go Fleck right now? You know,
right?
We know why we would want. Would we take them? Absolutely, but that no one wants to let go. The people you want to let go mid-season aren't the ones people want to buy.
Exactly,
You know?
And in the January window.
You know who those are. You have got a list.
Aubameyang. Who's going to sell Aubameyang? But he forced the move. If you get into their heads and you give them this, anyone will move. It's all about. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. In my opinion, most people, unless you're like do you know what I mean? A really hardcore player for that team who's in love with the fans and what have you. A lot of players would sway. You know, that's just my opinion. But Aubameyang came in January.
Yeah.
Yep. You're right.
Yep.
And we didn't mention him earlier.
Yeah, when you said Arsenal, the next name popped in my head was Aubameyang.
Yeah.
So,
think about that too. That he had some issues at Dortmund. You know.
Yeah.
It's not like he was having a falling out personally and professionally. So they were willing to sell, even though they would have been happy to keep, right? It's not like us with, we're trying to sell Mustafi. It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing about the January window too is, like you said, Jessica, it's a window for panic buys, but it's also a window where, and I think we're in this position, and I just said it. I think it's a window where you can solidify your depth if you have some injuries to your top 11.
Right.
So that's why I see a lot of people, the Boateng thing. It's like, he's 31, he's past his prime. Why do we want him? If Bayern's willing to let him go, why do we want him? And that goes back to what Jessica said. Like, if the player's willing to be sold, do you really want to buy him? But it's a window where you can solidify your depth due to injury, but it is a window for panic buys. And I'm just not a guy who thinks, I don't want to go and sign the biggest name free agent on the market simply because I want to go and sign the biggest free agent name on the market. I need to bring in the right player. Look, this is a game that is based a lot on chemistry,
and mentality,
and mentality. That's another thing. And
that's what Manchester United does, right? Manchester United, that is what they are known for, right? They buy the big name, whether or not they're going to mesh with the squad.
Yep. Yeah. Well,
and that's not what we do.
They did for years, and I'll tell you what, City would go out and buy the next biggest name. You know what I mean? Like, so they're not buying the biggest name that's on the market, but they're going out, they're getting the next biggest name on the market, but they're bringing them into a system. But I also think that they're looking at these players and saying, you're going to fit in this system. And more than most sports, I think football is a game of chemistry, mentality, system. You can't just rely on the pure talent of the players and say, okay, you guys, here's a collection of the best talent in the world. Okay, go do it. And
I'll make it up.
And I promise you, it won't work. It'll look good and it'll have its moments of brilliance, but over the course of a 38 game campaign, no. It doesn't work that way. You need the right player. So as I say the right player, do I think Jerome Boateng is the right player? Not necessarily. But then again, you kind of go with need as well. So
will he improve us, Tanner?
Jerome Boateng? Yeah. I think he improves us on two fronts. I think Boateng would improve us on, here again, and depth. And I think just about anybody would improve us on depth simply because we don't have it. So bringing a warm body in is going to improve that aspect. But yeah, he's been there. He's done that. Is he past his prime? Probably. But there's also something that I think he could come in and stabilize that back line a little bit. He is a leader. I at least in my opinion anyway, I think he has some leadership qualities about him. And I think he could come in, he could, mentor some of the younger center backs that we have, be it, Rob Holding, and I would say Mavropanos, but he's gone out on loan himself. I think in a few areas he does improve us, but not to the Upamecano, the Koulibaly, even and Hopes. I liked the other name you said, man, Lewis Dunk. I've been screaming this for a year now. Boy, go just call Brighton and offer them $20 million. See if they bite. And if they don't, offer them 25. And I think at 25 they bite. I'd love to have Lewis Dunk in this side, but I digress, guys. We're pushing up on an hour and a half here, and I got to be honest with you. I'm not the best at editing this stuff and cutting things out.
Can I just just like who's available? I mean, Eriksen's close to going to Inter. Tosun went from Everton to Palace on loan. These are kind of attack-minded players. So they are available. Pepe Reina, goalkeeper, went to Aston Villa on a loan. So it's about I don't know. I just think our board need to do something.
Yeah. Oh, they have that. They do. And like I said, I think more than anything, I think if they were just transparent, I think if they communicated with us, I think as fans, as supporters, I think we'd feel a lot better about things. I think if they just came out and said, look, you know what, this is a tough window to get a lot of business done in. It's a tough window to get good business done in. This is what we're looking at, but hey, no promises because it takes two to tango. And you know what, we may not be able to pull the trigger and find a deal that we like, because at the end of the day, this is a business as well. And they're not going to pull the trigger on a bad deal, or at least what they consider to be a bad deal. Ray, go ahead and get your final word in here on anything.
Just to recap the game really briefly, I'm very, very happy with a point. Arteta has taken the team in a very difficult time fixture-wise. We've gone through fixtures, Chelsea twice now, Manchester United, we've beaten them. Difficult games, Crystal Palace. I think that Sheffield United point is a real good point that we got, although we were equalized on, unfortunately. People have underestimated Sheffield United all season long. So the 7 games we played a lot of very, very good teams. We lost only one of those games. Yes, we could get a few more victories, but I think as we go through the season, as the fitness gets stronger that Hopes is talking about, and Arteta is able to implement his um, ideas into the squad, we can get better. I'm really, really looking forward to the last, say, 8 or 9 games of the season where we could get stronger. And I'm looking at Liverpool at the Emirates. That's going to be a hell of a game if they're still unbeaten. And we will have to uphold our tradition against them. Obviously, hope they'll get beaten just once, even. Um, I like Liverpool. I think that they can obviously win it now easily, but it's going to be tough. It's tough to go unbeaten. But for Arsenal and Arteta, I would like the club to make at least one signing, show the good faith to the fans. There are players out there. We've talked about it. Let's go get one of them in the next 10 days.
Yeah. Jessica, last word.
First, thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun. I am very much a hopeful person, and don't often say, particularly about Arsenal, I don't often find the negative. I still always find the hope in everything, and I think that's been a lot easier lately. And you can see it just in our Twitter timelines. There's a very different feel than there was 3 months ago, 4 months ago, certainly 6 months ago. And I think that's a feeling everywhere, and that starts from Arteta. And again, I do hope that the board backs him. I love that he is working hard to unite the fan base as much as he is working hard to unite the pitch. And you can see it everywhere. I'm really excited about today, and I think you're really right. Everyone has been underestimating Sheffield United all season, and so we almost had that win, but I was not disappointed that we drew with them. It didn't have the same draw feeling as today, because today really did. Like I already said it, today felt like a win, and I still have that excitement, in me that, oh my gosh, I have to remind myself that we drew. And so, and that's a fun feeling, that you have to say, oh wait, that was a point, and we were hoping for 3, but we got a point with 10 men down at the bridge. That is nothing to.
That's damn near a win.
It really is.
Yeah.
So I see so many positives. I do see there's still a lot of people that aren't believing in Arteta or aren't seeing any changes, and they say, oh, how can you not see anything? But like Hopes, I say, how do you not see the changes?
Right.
It's been really positive, and you can see it from the top down that people, players, people in Arsenal media, everybody is they're feeling it, and it's exciting.
Yeah. My last word here, guys, is it's going to be once again back to the fundraiser, the GoFundMe here. That's Theo's handle on Twitter. Please go check that out. He has a link to the GoFundMe in his profile on Twitter. I have a link, I believe, in the description here. So please click on that. Again, as I said, for every new subscriber to my YouTube channel, I am donating £5 to Theo's GoFundMe. Theo is 6 years old. He lives in the northeast of England, and he has cerebral palsy there, trying to raise money for a surgery that would relieve him of a great deal amount of the pain that he is in every single day. So please, from the bottom of my heart, I'm asking all of you to donate on your own, obviously. Please go and check that out. There's his Twitter handle. And like I said, for every new subscriber that I get here, I will donate £5. I'm up to 25 pounds as it is right now. So please share that. Go check that out. That's really all I've got. Theo, if you do happen to watch this, buddy, we're all thinking about you. We're pulling for you. Stay strong. We're going to do everything we can to help you out, pal. And hopefully the next time I get over there, maybe we can work something out, get you down to a game, try to work something out with the club. You guys don't know me from Adam, but I'll do what I can. So that's all I got. I want to thank Ray from Arsenal Fan Circle. Definitely check his channel out. He is at Arsenal Circle. Jessica, you are at Jessica S0226, right? I believe that's your Twitter handle. And Hopes, as always, at Hopes108, HOPEZ, at Hopes108. I am the Bearded Gooner. And thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks for everybody who watched live in the comment box over there. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one. As always, up the Arsenal. We'll see you out there.
Thanks, guys.